Hello everyone. We are delighted to have Yash Kotak from BOHECO today on our podcast.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure being back. It's
Pleasure.
always a pleasure. It's been a good 15 years since
15 years.
yeah, since
Yes.
we've graduated from this college, and coming back and seeing you look the same, seeing the college almost be the same is very happy. Very
Pleasure,
happy.
pleasure. So I remember Yash, he has a special, this batch has a special place in my heart because that's the time I started my teaching career. It was 2009 when I started my career and they were in their first year.
Yeah,
And they graduated in 2011.
2011, sir. Yeah,
Yeah, and they were called as the Supers batch.
Super 30.
Super 30. So the principal had selected 30 star students
Yeah.
who would be shadowing the principal and taking care of all the requirements of the principal for the college. And these 30 students were selected
Yeah.
on their skill sets and their abilities, and they
Yeah.
did a wonderful job by also helping us celebrate
The
the
Golden Jubilee.
Golden Jubilee. Yes, can you tell
Yes.
us about the Golden Jubilee?
Yeah, that was, I think, one of the best, periods of my time at HR. That was second year of BCom when we were in that. And we were finishing 50 glorious years of HR college. And back then we had, it was a whole year of celebration. It wasn't just one day. We had, some of our illustrious alumnus, the likes of Kumar Mangalam Birla, Karan Johar, and the likes come back to college, spend a day in college. We had a huge event at the Trident, which we
Absolutely.
had put together. That year, many events happened. We had late Abdul Kalam, our president,
Yes,
visit
yes,
college. We had Amir Khan come and also felicitated some of us.
absolutely.
So, some of those moments happened during that time, and that has left such a big impact in some of our minds and hearts that till date we carry with us, and we still have those pictures framed and put in our office.
Wow, that's so wonderful.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's just too many memories rushing back, and
Absolutely.
yeah, that was one of the best periods.
So I tell all my students that HR is not a college, it's an emotion.
It is an emotion,
And
yes.
for some students like them, it is far more than an emotion also.
Absolutely.
Because this college not only gave him a career, which he will talk about, but also gave him his better half, I
I
guess.
was just gonna say it gave me partners in all shapes and form and all parts of my life. I had a partner in personal life. I have my partners from work are all from HR college. My co-founders as well as my wife are
Awesome.
all
Awesome.
HR college.
Awesome. We are delighted that HR is not just a college; it is beyond a college. That's
Yeah.
what I would like to share with everyone. And the entire batch, which I remember, was wonderful because everybody was involved in something or the other,
Yeah.
and seven of them decided to start something.
Yeah.
And that's why he's on the alumni entrepreneurship podcast, where seven of them started a very interesting startup called as BOHECO. So I don't want to talk about that. I want him to talk about it. So Yash, why don't you tell what was your journey? How did seven friends from the same college,
Yeah.
same batch more or less,
Yeah,
most of
same
them,
batch, most of
most
us.
of them,
Yes, yes.
yeah. So why don't you share your journey and a very controversial product?
Yes.
So he will tell you about what they decided to sell and what is the reaction he got when he first went to everybody to talk about, like I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so like Sir mentioned, we seven co-founders, all of us from HR college. We started a company called BOHECO, which is an acronym for Bombay Hemp Company. We work with this controversial plant called cannabis, what we in India colloquially know as bhang. We make medicines from it. We started with a proposition of roti, kapda, makan, all from one plant. So we used to make clothes, we used to make building material, we used to make medicines and food from the plant. But it's been 12 years since we've been doing it. We'll finish 12 years next month. And now we're fine tuned to making medicines, largely in the domain of pain management and mental well being. So, as it now stands, we're India's foremost and largest industrial hemp and medical cannabis company, where we are vertically integrated, which means we have a direct control on the whole value chain from research to retail. So we cultivate our own plants, we do our own R&D. In terms of R&D, we do our own clinical trials, we do our own seed breeding. So we develop genetics to cultivate the plant. We have our own WHO GMP grade facility in Madhya Pradesh where we manufacture this, and we're based in Bombay, but now we also have clinics and stores in different parts of
But
this country in Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, so on and so forth. So an idea, a thought that actually started in this building has now become a big tree, and it's becoming a big tree. So yeah, that's what we do. And well, it's been 12 years. We're fortunate enough to be backed by some industrial stalwarts like Mr. Ratan Tata,
Of
late Mr.
course.
Ratan Tata, Rajan Anandan, etc. So we've come a long way in our entire journey from an idea to now a full-blown industry where we have more than now 100 companies. When we started out, we were the only company that was working in this, but now we have over 100 companies in this country that's doing something or the other in this entire value
Entire
chain.
value chain.
So yeah, that's what we do.
Very interesting, and I must tell you that I completely have a testimonial for him. I remember my wife suffering from a knee pain and going to her orthopedic, and she said that the orthopedic said that she needs hemp oil to be applied. And when the word hemp came, the only person I remembered was Yash, Jahan, Avnish, and the entire gang.
Yeah.
And I called up Yash, and he's like, "Sir, don't worry, sir. You just sit back and send me your address." And my wife applied that oil as per the doctor's instructions, and it has worked wonders. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So I can definitely tell you that the work that they are doing, there is proof in the pudding,
Yes.
as we have experienced it.
Yes.
You also were backed by Ratan Tata, which
Mm.
became news.
Mm.
Late Sri Ratan Tata ji,
Mm.
of course, now.
Mm.
So, how did you go about convincing him to invest in your company? And that made headlines.
Yeah.
Not only at HR, but also in all the leading newspapers.
Yes.
Getting the Ratan Tata
Mm.
to invest in your startup
Yeah.
that time. Now, I
Yeah.
can't call you a startup because
Yeah.
you're now a full grown company
Organization. Yeah.
and organization, and of course, you are leapfrogging into many other things as well.
Yeah.
So, how did you convince him?
Yeah, so actually, the convincing journey actually started sometime maybe a year before, right? Before we actually started convincing Mr. Tata. All of us co-founders had this visioning exercise. So I'm going to date back a little. In that visioning exercise, there was this one question: Who do you want to be your first investor? Hand to our heart, all of us, it was like an anonymous thing. No one knows who's written what. So we'd all written Ratan Tata's name, right? And we said, okay, all of us commonly have written his name and we need him. And back then, Cannabis, us, Bombay Hemp Company, all of us had very low credibility because the plant was notorious for its other applications.
Of course.
We were very young as a group, so people didn't really trust us. So we said the only thing that can add credibility to the whole industry and to our organization, we have a credible individual backing us, and there is no more there's no person more credible
course.
than Mr. Tata is. So we started on that journey. We said that okay, none of us come from affluent backgrounds. We have to walk our way through. And we said we actually started in a sense talking Mr. Tata that where all is he going to be? Is there a public event where we can, it's a ticketed event where we can go and probably just find a minute of his time to exchange like just his credentials. So there was this one event that was happening where Mr. Tata was actually speaking, and it was a ticketed event. So we said, okay, this is our in. We need to just buy tickets and go. We got 3 tickets, and then we strategically kind of said that, okay, it's a 2 hour event. There are 3 touch points we need these 3 members to be at. One touch point was by the lift because, of course, he will need to use the lift. The second touch point was in the audience, and the person in the audience was Sanwar, who we
Of
actually
course.
planted with the most intelligent questions, etc. So that if he gets a chance, he can ask, and probably he can say a good question, and he remembers us. And Dalzad was by the lift, and third person Jahan, who we placed near the washroom because we were hoping it's a 2 hour event. Maybe Mr. Tata would like to use the
The
washroom.
restroom, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
we placed him there, and 2 out of the 7 co-founders are actually Parsis, so we use that card also. So we got 2 Parsis also in that. And while fortunate enough, Mr. Tata had to use the restroom. So he went, he finished his business, and Jahan was waiting right by the basin. And all of them had a standard 30-second elevator pitch because that's all we would get with him.
Excellent.
And he told him what we do, etc. And of course, knowing Mr. Tata, such a well-read person, well exposed, well traveled, he knew a lot about hemp already because of his exposure to the US, etc. So he said, I think this is very interesting. And very humbly, he removes his business card and with both his hands he gives it to us. He didn't have to do that, but he did that. He gave us his card, and then we, wrote to him. And then 6 months of pursuing him, we got a meeting with him, and
Wow.
one thing led to the other.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that the students should learn from our alumni entrepreneurs like Yash. Elevator pitch. Whatever you're doing in life, if you have a 30-second elevator pitch ready as to what you have to speak where, if they ask you why, what are you doing? So that is something that is going to help you. So all you budding entrepreneurs there, please learn this from our star alumni entrepreneur, that you need to have an elevator pitch, and second is you need to have access.
Yes.
The moment you get access, you can then establish and then build credibility over a period of time,
Yeah.
and then maybe scale.
Yeah.
So it all starts with access.
Yeah.
So if you don't have access,
Right place, right time.
yeah,
Because opportunities will not always come knocking, but when it comes, you have to grab it with
absolutely,
all your might.
absolutely. And thanks for sharing this. This was a wonderful insight which the students would have got
Yeah.
with your wonderful ideas. That it was not only the audience that they were in; they had their own people placed everywhere.
Yeah.
That wherever touch points that he could probably visit, they foreseed that in advance and they placed, and they could get him on board.
Yeah.
And that made headlines in Economic Times, Times
All,
of India,
yeah,
almost
all,
all.
all.
Because I was delighted the moment I saw. I clicked the picture and sent it to all of
Yeah.
them, saying that, hey, this is great news, hearty congratulations.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Awesome, awesome, wonderful. So, journey with friends. When you're sharing coffee and sandwiches with them,
Yeah,
and now you're sharing boardroom spaces.
yeah.
Uh, 7 people, 7 minds, 7 hearts. How do you align?
So I don't think there is a right or wrong answer to this. Honestly, it is a very personal, dynamic-led thing, and I think what is most important in this entire thing is that how are we all aligned at a base level? What is our vision? Is it common? If it's not common, how do you come to a certain middle ground? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's very important to know and be mindful beforehand that conflicts will happen. It is
Awesome.
not that you can go in के दोस्त है तो यार hunky dory ठीक है, it doesn't work like that in the real world. You need a certain level of maturity to understand that okay, this is work and you deal with work differently, and then there is a time for fun and games, which is a different time. Because then you don't want to hamper your personal relationship or the work that you're trying to build. Um, often say this to a lot of people, and we get this question asked a lot that 7 co-founders is unheard of, right? Usually, भाई भाई में नहीं बनती है, 7 co-founder में कैसे बन जाती है? And we're still out of the 7, 5 of us are still actively working together, and that is because we are fundamentally aligned to the vision. We believe in the value that we are truly creating. If we when we see the work that we are doing is helping a cancer patient, epilepsy patient, or a farmer in Uttarakhand, his quality of life improve, I think some of these things matter more to us as a group than some vanity metrics is. And like I said, there's no right or wrong. But I still remember when we got our first office space. It was a 110 square feet space. Literally, all it could accommodate was us, right? We had this. We said that okay, while the 7 of us are here, we got a massive poster of our company's name just stuck on the wall. And we said, guys, this is the eighth individual, and that is our boss. And we ensured that we look at our entity as an individual and that we're serving that individual. So anything and everything that we do has to benefit this individual. Now, how do you ensure that you reduce conflicts? What we did was we said that okay, you take full authority on a certain subject, and we that's how we divided our entire organization, where you had full autonomy on taking decisions on a certain thing that is dedicated to you. That way it gives you a certain sense of ownership, and you are leader of that specific thing. And then ultimately, if they're loggerheads, I think having odd number of co-founders helps, because then voting happens and 4:3. So if conversations can't solve for it, ultimately you surrender to process.
Process.
And then ultimately you get the decision out.
Awesome, awesome. I think it's a right blend of head and heart, where coincidentally or whatever the case may be, they were odd numbers,
Yeah,
and hence decision making was very,
absolutely.
process driven, where
Yes.
odd and even could work,
Yeah.
and that's how it works. That's brilliant.
Mm.
So, Yash, there are a lot many challenges also that entrepreneurs face,
Yeah.
especially while raising funds.
Yeah.
And most of the students today are only looking at some nice television opera and saying, पैसा तो सर यहीं से आता है.
Mm.
We will go to one of the TV shows and we will raise money.
Mm. Yeah.
And value सब छोड़ दो, valuation is the most
Mm.
important thing. So what are your thoughts?
So, I completely believe that entrepreneurship in the last 12 years that we've been doing has changed. When we started out and the first 5 6 years, it was very different. The market was very valuation centric. There were a lot of in business we look at vanity metrics and sanity metrics. Vanity metrics are all the surface level things which was given more importance a few years ago. But after the pandemic and after the market changed, I think sanity metrics, profitability, bottom line are getting more importance now. So, well, idea is one thing. How good and strong you are with your execution is everything. If your execution strong, there is pathway to profitability. There is yes enough and more money out there to be raised. But ultimately, what are you, like you asked a pertinent question, are you chasing value or valuation? Ultimately, the value game will always win.
Thank
It
you.
will always win because it is built for long term. Businesses are never, कि आज चालू कर दिया 3 साल में exit and I will be, that's it, I have to retire. It is from the outside it looks very flowery and
Hunky dory.
hunky dory, but there's a lot that goes into building a business. And um, also one person must understand that how old school businesses used to happen is the fundamentals were very strong. That's how a business in even today is built. People
Absolutely.
still feel that raising money, coming on TV, doing podcasts, and just having some of those vanity metrics out there, you may be able to get a higher kind of exit or whatever, but it's not true. You have to focus on the fundamentals, profitability. You have people that work for you, so their jobs and their lives are also your responsibility. So how do you kind of understand the overall picture is super important. There is, yeah, in my personal opinion, I think value trumps valuation.
Superb. I think most of our alumni entrepreneurs have picked value over valuation, and I'm delighted that you have reinforced the same thought in the minds of our students, saying that don't chase valuation, chase value.
Value.
If you can add value and kind of leave the vanity metrics and
Yeah.
move towards the sanity
Sanity
metrics.
metrics.
So that is your right litmus test.
Yeah.
If you can test your business on the sanity matrices
Yeah.
and see that whether you're able to generate profitability, growth, expansion,
Yeah.
etc., 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 it will work well in their favor.
Absolutely.
Rather than only saying that I could be on this thing, that thing, I did this, we did that,
Yeah.
etc., etc.
Yeah.
Both are required,
Yeah.
no doubt about that. But ultimately, the business will come towards the sanity side.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the best businesses are built without raising money. If your fundamentals are strong, if you look at some of the businesses I look up to in this country are Zoho, Zerodha, they've not raised even single
Single panel.
penny right from the market. They've all built on strong fundamentals. And ultimately, as an entrepreneur, you are married to your idea. You are married. You have put in a lot of work in the initial days that the no investor can see through that, right? So if and then once you reach a certain level, you still want control, you still want to have a hold on your business, and that can only come if you own as much or more of the business. So it's very important to know that raising money, you should not raise money if you don't have to.
Fair enough. I think raising money only for the sake of showing people that you can raise money is not worth it.
Yeah.
You raise only money when you actually require it for expansion or certain projects that
Yeah.
require capital investment. Otherwise, it makes sense to grow organically from the money that you've made through your business per se.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. So, Yash, when you started off with hemp, as a product category,
Yeah.
which was again controversial, saying कि भाई ये तो he's selling weed. That's what some of the people exclaimed.
Yeah.
Before they could understand that it has a medicinal application and a
Yeah.
huge value in terms of built materials for constructions or cloth or any of those things that the hemp could be used as an application.
Right.
You had to also meet policymakers
Yeah.
and kind of talk to these very learned people who
Yeah.
are IAS or IPS or
Yes.
any of the bureaucrats. What were the challenges you faced then?
Hmm. So, when we started out, we were what, 21, 22 years old, right? So, some of our initial meetings, we were actually discounted before we even entered the room. That, that these must just 21-year-olds trying to legalize weed. That was, the perception of cannabis and the perception of young people trying to do something in cannabis always enters the room before the people enter the room. So we
Absolutely.
always were on the back foot when we entered the room. We were, while the first few meetings were a little bit of a shocker that we're not trying to propagate the illicit use, but so what happens in time, I think we realized that ultimately, we had to use a more credible tool for education, and that was science. We said that, okay, if we prove using science that whatever we are saying, back it up with science, then to disprove that also you need science, right? So we said that, okay, while we are building policy, we also need to invest in R&D and research. So while there was a baseline policy for cannabis in India, science hadn't kept up with that policy. And by that, what I mean is that while the central government had basic guidelines to work with cannabis in the country, each state has the power to make its own rules and regulations. Therefore, when you go to Rajasthan, Orissa, MP, you can buy bhang off the streets. It's available everywhere. But in states like Maharashtra or South India, it's very conservative. So we said, okay, if science hasn't kept up with policy, what do we need to do? So we invested in a seed breeding program to conduct research. We collected wild varieties. Cannabis originated in India, right? So it's the birthplace of that plant is India. So India from Kashmir to Kanyakumari has so many different
Varieties.
varieties. So we started collecting it and we started, doing a genetic development program and understanding how can we how can we domesticate the plant, right? In the sense, for example, up until early 2000 or late 90s, there was nothing like basmati rice, right? There was only rice. It's only after IARI, which is India Agriculture Research Institute, they did a seed breeding program. Over 8 years, they developed a variety called basmati rice. That is what we started doing with cannabis. From the jungle, we started removing it, started growing it on commercial land, standard conditions for standard output. Now, the problem with the government was that they were always looking at cannabis as a problem. Therefore, they will always deal with it like a problem. The thing on at our end is we looked at it as a solution, and therefore we were dealing it with like a solution. It's a thought process thing. So I remember this meeting in Himachal Pradesh with the governor of the state, where we were all having. There was their top-ranking police officer, their bureaucrats, technocrats, everyone were in the room, and we were the private organization, and they're talking about this drug menace in Himachal and etc etc. So this cop spoke before us and he said कि हमने जर्मनी से चेनसॉ मंगवाए और फार्मर्स को एक डेली वेज पे रखा और उनको बोला कि जो भी भांग की खेती दिखती है वो सब मिटा दो। उसी दिन फार्मर लगभग 3 घंटे के बाद वापस आता है क्योंकि सारी चेनसॉस जो उन्होंने मंगवाई थी जर्मनी सारी बिगड़ गई क्योंकि हेम्प का फाइबर इतना स्ट्रांग है कि वो उसमें फंस के उसने चेनसॉ ही तोड़ दी, राइट? सो नाउ इफ दे आर लुकिंग एट इट लाइक अ प्रॉब्लम, वो दे विल कम विद सच टेक्निक। सो वी सेड नहीं सर, आप उल्टा सोचो, आपका प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि लोग नशे के लिए यूज करते हैं। नशा किस में आता है? फ्लावर में। फ्लावर कभी आता है? लास्ट स्टेज ऑफ द ग्रो साइकिल। In fact, why don't you do one thing? Why don't you harvest the plant before it flowers? You extract the fiber, create a cottage industry, you can make handloom fabrics and different applications. So suddenly there is no drug problem. This plant is being grown for a handloom and cottage industry. And that time Uttarakhand mein floods hue the and all of
Correct.
that. So we said, why don't we employ women who have lost their breadwinners and deploy them also here? So they said, okay, we can think of that. And then that idea led to 150 women being employed. There was a women weaver collective that started in the state, and they started growing hemp. for handloom and cottage industries, etc. So that was what we realized, that people in those rooms, we have to satiate their ego. We have to ensure that we don't make them feel they don't know anything, but we show them the right path. Ultimately, that is entrepreneurship. It's a very fancy word, but entrepreneurship is nothing but just connecting the dots and getting the right people to do their job. That's it. So we got the right people to come in, work on policy, creating different industries, etc. And that's it. Work happened by itself. We didn't do anything. We just got these people to
Right
come in
people
the
on the
cell.
table.
That's it.
Absolutely.
That is
Wonderful.
entrepreneurship.
So I think students, one more thing that you need to learn is sometimes you have to create a product category. There
Yeah.
was nothing like hemp.
Yeah.
So he had to invest in education.
Yes.
And come what may, you also had to learn constitution.
Mm.
He had to learn what is union list, what is state list.
Yes.
And he had to also learn what is concurrent list, what we
Yes.
speak in class. That time we make fun of it, arey chodo, ye exam mein aayega, and all these things. But when you come to actual life, all of this is used
Yeah.
because he had to see which state would be the first state where he could get comfortable
Absolutely.
access. Otherwise, if he started with the union guys, they would say, "अरे छोड़ो यार, बहुत दूसरे issues है."
Mm-hmm.
So he had to find a state which
Yeah.
would actually give him an Himachal, where there is the condition favorable for
Yes.
growing the crop,
Yes.
and there is a menace. He found a solution there.
Yes.
I mean, they found a very beautiful solution that before the flower comes, let's use it for handloom. And there are women because of the flash floods
Yeah.
who require employment, and they connected the dots.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful, very wonderful idea, Yash, and we
Yes.
are proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm glad that you're not only looking at the P of profitability, but also the P of people.
Yeah, and P of purpose.
Most important.
Most
Most
important,
important.
sir. Yes,
And that's what the board stands for.
Yes.
The eighth individual.
Yes, absolutely, sir.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. That's
Yes.
wonderful. Uh, so, Yash, coming to our very interesting question, which all the students look forward to.
Hmm.
Should they do anything like you did on campus? 7-8 जन मिलके राजू चाइनीज खाते खाते एक आइडिया आ जाए और उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करें
Hmm.
कि नहीं यार HR has great access of placements and Navin sir is taking care of placements. There are good companies which are coming on campus. Thanks to all the alumni and thanks to all the well-wishers that we've been able to attract the best kind of companies.
Yeah.
So there's a huge dilemma.
Yeah.
Good job, good company, entrepreneurship.
So I think there is a time for entrepreneurship. If you look at statistics, most successful entrepreneurs that have started a business have started post the age of 40, which is post getting real world experience, understanding what goes. There is so much to learn. While if you were to ask me retrospectively, would you have started a few years later? I would probably say yes. Because I think that there are a lot of nuances, a lot of things that one has to learn, from by learning from people with experience, right? When you work under someone, you learn from them. I think the kind of learning you get there is invaluable. Of course, our experiences taught us, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But what I'm trying to say is that idea is one thing, execution is everything. There is nothing more important than execution, because idea are, in today's day and age, which is the age of hyper information, we are getting information at our fingertips. Ideas, every day there is a new idea coming, but can you really execute that idea well? That is something that is one has to decide. And I just feel that you are in a better position to execute any idea if you have some experience learning from the real world. So I would highly recommend that when you graduate from college, you're very young, you're 20, 21 years old. Uh, Give it 10 years, give it a decade, get real world help and learnings from all kind of spheres, be it operations, finance. College, while it teaches you one aspect of your work life, there is a big aspect that comes from practicality and practical
Absolutely.
application. So yeah, that would be my honest advice. But yeah, if you get a great idea, you break through. We also have the founders of Zepto who are only 21 years old,
Yeah.
and but how many of such are there?
Absolutely.
So just keep that in mind. It may look fancy, but it's not as fancy. It is dirtier on the inside.
Absolutely. Another important question that I had was, uh, is fancy is equal to business, or sometimes boring things also can make business?
Boring. I think I was listening to a very interesting podcast the other day. I think it was by Rajiv Bajaj of
Bajaj
Bajaj,
Financial.
yes, right. And he was talking about like how they have made Bajaj a super boring business. And I also personally feel that sometimes when you're really passionate about something, right, you probably tend to lose track of certain fundamentals of building a business. So while passion is important, pedigree is equally as important, right? So I think not all businesses can and should be fancy. If you're running a factory, it
It can't be
doesn't, it
fancy.
can't be fancy, right? It has to be like operational efficiency and things like that, right? So I think it is the most big businesses that are there in India that we see around us are humble, boring, not so much on the vanity metrics.
Vanity metrics,
For
absolutely.
yeah.
So I think that's a very wonderful solution or suggestion that Yash has offered all of our students. Last question, Yash.
Sure, sir.
What is your message to HR students with
Um,
regards to entrepreneurship?
entrep- I think entrepreneurship will teach you one thing really well, which is how do you balance the act of patience and persistence. And by that, and both are a little contradictory, but by that, what I essentially mean that you have to be patient for your long-term goals, but you have to be persistent for your short-term objectives. And that is super critical as a startup, as an entrepreneur. The one strength that you truly have is agility and aggression, which big businesses don't have because there are so many layers and they can't easily pivot versus a young organization can. So you have to be super at it, agile, aggressive in and persistent for short-term objectives, but you have to really be patient for long-term goals. No business is built overnight. Rome wasn't built in one day.
Absolutely.
I think today's day and age, people are losing this important trait of patience, and I think that's a virtue that entrepreneurship teaches you very well.
Super, super. Thank you, Yash. Thank you
No.
so much for joining us. And we are delighted that Yash could take out time from his schedule and come back to his alma mater and come back to college. He's going to come back again on the 9th of Feb. We are inviting,
Absolutely.
extending our invitation. 9th of Feb is our alumni meet at Garware, and we invite all of you also to be there, all our alumni from all batches. You all are welcome, and please follow our social media pages to understand what's going on. And all this would not have been possible without the e-cell of HR College, that is the entrepreneurship cell of HR College. Please follow their social media handles as well on almost all platforms. So thank you so much, Yash. Pleasure talking
Thank
to
you,
you,
sir.
and we
Absolute
look
pleasure.
forward to meeting you soon.
Likewise, sir.
God
Likewise.
bless you.
Thanks for
Take care.
having me.
God
Yes,
bless you.
absolutely.